G'day, I'm Phil. One of the questions people are naturally going to ask after they've watched the first few of my videos is, what do you actually eat? The funny thing is, it probably isn't what some people expect. I don't follow a strict diet. I haven't cut out entire food groups, and yet I still eat pizza from time to time. What's really changed isn't so much about the food itself, it's the way I think about food. For many years, I simply ate whatever I felt like. I wasn't paying much attention to protein. I certainly wasn't keeping track of how much I was actually eating. At work, I'd often finish lunch with half a Costco muffin, have a flavoured milk or a soft drink, and maybe a chocky bar as well. None of those things seemed like a big deal on their own. But when those little habits become everyday habits, they add up. Eventually, I found myself carrying far more weight than I should have been. My health was getting worse. My mobility was getting worse. And I reached the point where I knew something had to change. About a year and a half ago, I started learning more about protein. At first, I misunderstood the whole idea. I thought I could simply add more protein to what I was already eating and everything would somehow just figure itself out. It doesn't quite work like that. What I eventually realised was that protein isn't magic. You still need to be sensible about how much you eat overall. But eating enough protein has made a huge difference for me. I stay fuller for longer. I'm not constantly thinking about my next snack. And I don't feel like I need that muffin after lunch just to feel satisfied. And I've noticed it helping in the gym as well. The workouts aren't necessarily easier, but I'm recovering better and gradually I'm becoming stronger. These days, I still keep track of my calories, not because I'm obsessed with numbers, but because it keeps me honest. It also teaches you a lot. After tracking your food for a while, you start learning roughly how much protein different foods contain, how many calories are in everyday meals, and what portions actually look like. That knowledge becomes useful even when you aren't tracking every single meal perfectly. The app I use doesn't always have every food listed, so sometimes I have to make an educated guess. And that's okay. I'd rather be roughly right than give up altogether. One area I've had to learn to manage is shift work. Night shift used to be when I got into the most trouble. I'd bring snacks along almost to keep myself entertained. Then at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd find myself standing in front of the vending machine, wanting chocolate bickies or a soft drink. Now I plan ahead. I usually take a high protein frozen meal, something with chicken, leftovers from dinner, and some Greek yogurt for later in the shift. Having those foods ready means I'm much less likely to end up buying junk food just because it's there. A typical brekkie for me is pretty simple. I'll have 3 Weet-Bix with milk, 3 eggs, a protein shake, and a latte that I make at home. I gave up putting sugar in my coffee years ago, and that's probably one of the easiest healthy changes I've ever made. Lunch is usually leftovers from the night before or a high protein ready made meal. For dinner, my wife and I might have something like beef stroganoff or apricot chicken. I just watch how much rice I have with it. And yet, every now and then, we'll have pizza or burgers. The difference now is that those foods are occasional meals, not everyday habits. If I know we're having something a little more indulgent for dinner, I might simply have a lighter lunch. It's all about looking at the bigger picture. One meal doesn't decide whether you're successful. One day doesn't ruin your progress. If I have a day where I eat more than I planned, I don't beat myself up about it. I don't tell myself I've stuffed up. I simply get back to my normal routine the next day. For me, that's been one of the biggest mindset changes. Am I perfect? Certainly not. I still have the occasional extra slice of pizza. I still enjoy a piece of chocolate now and then. But perfection isn't the goal. Consistency is. If someone copied exactly what I eat, it probably would work for some people, but I'd encourage them to make it fit their own life too. Include foods you genuinely enjoy. Because if every meal feels like a punishment, eventually you'll give up. The biggest lesson I've learned is that I don't need to eat perfectly. I can still enjoy the foods I like. I just don't need to overdo it. If I make good choices most of the time and keep coming back to the plan after the occasional setback, I'll keep moving in the right direction. And I think that's a much healthier way to live. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.